Alright, so what is up guys? In the previous session we learned about what are print statements and how we can use print statements to print out the value of a variable or a string or some kind of a value whatsoever in the output window. And we also learned about concatenation of strings using two dots. So if you were to put a dot b, so this will join the two strings together. Alright, so leaving that, in this session we'll be understanding what are conditional statements. Here I've written three questions: what, how, when. So what are conditional statements, how we are going to use conditional statements, when do we use conditional statements, and also bonus clips I'll be teaching will be nested if else statements and how do we print even number from conditional statements. So starting off, alright, so we'll be moving on to what are conditional statements. So conditional statements are those statements which are also called as if-else statements, and these statements, they have a condition inside them. So if the condition is valid or it's true, then a code is run. So whatever is inside the if-else statement, that code will start running. So if I were to take two cases, if this is a syntax for writing if-else statements, right? So this is a general syntax for writing conditional statements. You write it with the if first and then followed by a condition, and then you write then, and then you write the code snippet that you want to run if the condition is true. So if this condition is true, which means that in this case we can say that if it's raining outside, then this code will start running, whatever is inside this. So whatever we have written here, it's we have written take umbrella. So if it's raining outside, if it is actually raining outside, then we take umbrella and then we go out or whatsoever. If it's not raining outside, then it will not run this code. It will move on to the else and it will run this don't take umbrella. So this is a general example of if-else statements. So I will define two variables here, a equals to 5 and b equals to 10. So let me write a general, let me delete this first. So if I were to run this, let me see what happens. It will print a equals to 5. So another thing you might have noticed here is that I'm not written the else part. So in the general syntax where I've just told you guys earlier that I wrote if it's raining outside, then take umbrella, else don't take umbrella. In this case I didn't write an else statement. So when you're programming or when you're writing a code or a logic whatsoever, you don't really necessarily have to write the else part. Let's say I don't know the value of a, and let's say the person who wrote the code for me, he writes the value of a as equals to 10. So in this code, if you were to run this, it will print a is not equal to 5 because this condition is false. This is a condition, by the way, so it's not true. Since it's false, it won't run this code snippet. It'll go to the else part and run this print statement. So that's basically it. We can even use arithmetic operations as a condition. Alright, so here it prints that a plus b is equal to 20 because a is 10. And if you were to check that, let's say you don't know the values of a and b. So if you want to check that a plus b is not equals to 50, like not equals to, then we will use this. This symbol is used as a not. So let me write in comments here is not. So this not, if I were to run this, let me run this. Let me change the print statement not equals to 50 and run this. So this, it says, so since a plus b is not equal to 50, a is 10, b is 10. So if you were to add both of these, it will say 10 plus 10, which is 20, and 20 is not equal to 50. Since this condition is true, it will jump to this print statement and it will skip the else part. So if you guys understood this, let me move on to let's say if I were to print even number. Okay, so even numbers, as you know, all even numbers, they are divisible by 2, and 10 is an even number which is divisible by 2, and if you are dividing 10 by 2, you will get the remainder as 0. So here I'll be using the modulus operator, a modulus b equals to 0, and I'll be changing the print statement. If you were to use the modulus operator, it will give the remainder between a division by b. and here A is 10 and B is 2. So A divided by 2 gives us a remainder as 0. So that's why I wrote equals 0. Alright, so now we're going to be moving on what is if, else if, and else statements. So if I were to have three conditions in my program or code, let's say, so the three conditions I've written here is if it's raining outside, if it's not raining outside, and even if it's raining or not raining outside, we can still not go outside. So no need to go outside irrespective of it being raining outside or not raining outside. So if you were to have three conditions in our programming language or code or script whatsoever, or in our game, we will use else if. So let me write let me write a small script here. We have written here is if a equals 10, the condition is a equals 10, which is false because we know that the value of a is 14. So since this is false, it will move on to the else if part and it will check the condition again. So the condition here is a equals 14, which is true because here we have declared the variable a equals to 14 with the data being 14. Since this condition is true, in the else if part, this part will start running and it will skip the else part. It will go here and it will start printing here. So let me print here end of if statement. It will say a is 14 end of if statement. So it won't run this else part. Alright, so moving on, we are going to be discussing about what are if else state. Already done this. So nested if else statements. So nested if else statements, you can say it by the name, or you can think about the meaning from its name, which is nested. So what does nested means? It means that there's something inside another thing. Alright, so here I've written an if statement inside of another if statement. So here I'm checking that if it's raining outside, then if this condition is true, it will run whatever the code is inside this, and the code inside of this has another conditional statement, which is if statement, and the condition being inside of the inner if statement. This is called the inner if statement because it's inside of another if statement. You call this as the outer if statement, and this is the inner if statement. Okay, so if the condition for the inner if statement is if I have a car, which if it's true, then drive car, and once this condition is true and this code has run, it will skip the else part and again it will move on whatever is here. So it'll run this whatsoever. So if I were to write this here, let's say it will say a plus b is equal to 20 and a is 10, because this condition is true, which is a plus b 20, while a being 10 and b equals to 10. So 10 plus 10 is 20, and the condition of the inner if statement, which this is the inner if statement, is the a equals to 10. Since this condition is true, it will print this and it will skip it. Let me write exited. So it says exited. I've changed the condition to being a not equal to 10, which is false. So if I were to run this, it says exited because it skips this whole thing. So if the outer if statement condition is true, but the inside if statement condition is false, it does not mean that it will go to the else part. It will, if I were to write another else part here, then it will print this else part. A plus b is equal to 20, but a is not equal to 10. So, and it says exited. So this was it about nested if else statement, or even numbers, and normal if statements, as well as writing several conditions with arithmetic operations being a plus b, a modulus b for even numbers. We even use a division b, so the slash is called the division. We can even do similar things for strings, and I think I'll give this as a homework to you guys. I want you guys to create a code or a code snippet for conditional statements where the condition involves strings. So think about that, make a script and put in the comment section. I'll reach out to you guys. Alright, till then, I think that was it. If you guys have any doubts or queries or whatsoever, reach out to me in the comment section, and also don't forget to do the homework. Till then, stay safe. Bye bye.